Good morning, everyone. For teleSUR, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin today in Beijing, where the first ministerial summit between China and the 33-nation community of Latin America and Caribbean states has kicked off. Chinese President Xi Jinping opened the historic two-day summit by describing it as, quote, a new beginning in relations between his country and Latin America and the Caribbean. Now, CHINA-CELAC was launched in 2011 in Venezuela as an initiative to unite Latin America and the Caribbean and an organization free from U.S. influence. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro described the summit as, quote, historic. And moving to Colombia now, the National Liberation Army announced Wednesday that it is willing to declare a ceasefire with the government. Our correspondent NATALIA MARGARITA filed this report from Bogota.
Former commander of the leftist group, the National Liberation Army, Carlos Velandia, remembers fondly when a dove landed in his house in June of 2012. For him, this bird of peace, as he calls it, is a reminder of that same year of 2012, when Colombia's peace process was officially announced. After more than 2 years of negotiations with FARC group, today Carlos received with hope an important announcement from his former group, the ELN, the second biggest leftist group in Colombia.
After 50 years of fighting, today the National Liberation Army has made an important announcement that they are willing to discuss with the government the conditions for laying down arms for good, and when they solve the large problems of the country.
In the statement released on Wednesday, the ELN said they would be willing to declare a ceasefire if peace talks starts with the Colombian government.
It's very important to include the ELN in the peace process. Otherwise, we cannot talk about national peace. To leave an insurgent group in the mountains implies the continuation of a conflict, and this is what we don't want.
Like Carlos, analyst Luis Celis sees the announcement by ELN as a very positive step towards the goal of a complete peace in Colombia.
It is not possible to think of an end to the armed conflict without including ELN in the negotiations. It would lead us only to a partial peace.
The possibility of a bilateral ceasefire stressed by President Juan Manuel Santos on Monday, together with ELN announcement on Wednesday, have brought a strong hope to peace in Colombia. From Bogota, Natalia Margarita, teleSUR.
Thanks to Natalia. We go to Argentina now, where 2014 was an unforgettable year for the world-renowned Grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo Association. 7 cases of kidnapped children were solved. Those cracked cases included the recovery of the grandson of the association's president, Estela de Carlotto. She found her grandson, Guido, after 36 years of doubt. That then triggered a record-breaking wave of inquiries by other people with doubts about their real identity. With more, here's Leo Poblete Carudi from Buenos Aires.
Manuel Gonçalves, a recuperated grandson and member of the board of directors of the Grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo, says that the record number of inquiries in 2014 sets up a new year full of hope towards restoring the real identity of more grandchildren.
Last year, we ran massive campaigns that had a huge impact on the population, especially the one we ran during the World Cup with the Argentine national football team, followed by the impact made by the restitution of Guido, Estela's grandson. These factors gave us a year which stood out because we're talking about 7 cases solved. But on top of that, for 2015, we have many cases to analyze and investigate thanks to the young people that have come forward in 2014.
As time goes by, the grandchildren the Grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo search for get older. This demands an ever-evolving shift in the message of the awareness campaigns they run.
We will continue to create and think of ways to create awareness. As I said, time passes, and so it does for the people that you're trying to send the message across. So the way to communicate to them now, that they're between the ages of 36 and 39 years old, is not the same as when they were 20.
Many of the grandchildren which have not been recuperated now have children of their own, meaning that a new generation is also now living with a distorted identity. In 2015, the Grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo will initiate a campaign under the slogan, "The great-grandchildren also have the right of gaining their true identities." From Buenos Aires, Leo Poblete Carudi, teleSUR.
Thanks to Leo. We go to Central America now, where in Honduras, nearly 3 times more private security exists than military and police combined. And as our correspondent Gerardo Torres reports, analysts say the figure reveals deep systematic problems for that country.
Honduras, there are 700 private security companies registered, and according to the Violence Observatory at the National University, besides this, there are 400 companies unregistered. There is a total of almost 100,000 private agents, 3 times more than the police force and the military combined.
There are approximately 80 to 100,000 agents working for private security companies. This is a problem because people see they are not getting the state security they require. These companies have to be in agreement with the government because if not, they could take up arms and form their own government.
There are very few businesses that don't have a private security agent in the door, and there are all types of companies and of different prices, showing the failure of the police and military to protect Hondurans.
Because of the corruption in the government, the private companies try to protect what they have. Because it is not good to be working, then someone takes your things and takes your already low earnings.
Private security companies in Honduras are rapidly increasing without any control or supervision from the government, which in the short term could mean another security problem for the Hondurans. Gerardo Torres, Telesur, Central America.
And thanks to Gerardo, we go to France now, where police there say they have found 2 main suspects and a third has turned himself in following a shooting at a satirical magazine. Wednesday, gunmen opened fire on the Charlie Hebdo magazine, leaving 12 dead. French President François Hollande declared a day of national mourning and will meet with leaders of the main political parties of the country. Far-right leader Marine Le Pen says that if elected, she will push to reestablish the death penalty and allocate more resources to security and intelligence services. And to Sri Lanka, where 15 million voters were eligible to vote in today's presidential election. Incumbent President Mahinda Rajapaksa hopes to win a 3rd term in office despite allegations of corruption and human rights abuses. He is being challenged by one of his own former ministers, Mithripala Sirisena. While Rajapaksa has touted his economic credentials, Sirisena has vowed to stamp out corruption and curb the power of the presidential office. And finally, ice sculptors from all over the world gathered in the Russian city of Yekaterinburg on Wednesday. They were there to compete in an annual ice sculpture competition. 10 international competitors joined scores of Russian teams to show off their sculpting skills in the city center. Most of the competitors carved out Orthodox Christian icons, while Russian teams won 1st and 2nd places. Competitors from Japan scored the bronze. Plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For TeleSUR English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great Thursday.